Hi guys, I hope all are doing good. And today let's start some of the interview question and answers with explanations and examples with the tech stack of Java, Spring Boot, and microservices. So let's quickly start. And before starting, please do subscribe if you are not yet been subscribed to my channel. Let's see the first question. So here the first question is related to Java. What is fail fast and fail safe iterators in Java? So basically iterators in Java we use to iterate over the collection objects, right? So what are these iterators? So the interviewer frequently asked question we can say related to Java about these iterators, and also a concurrent modification exception which is related to these iterators. So let's see. Fail fast iterators immediately throw concurrent modification exception if there is structural modification of the collection. Means what it is saying, so these iterators, like then and there it will throw the concurrent modification exception if we are doing anything like structural modification of that particular collection. So what is structural modification here? So it is nothing but adding, removing any element from collection while a thread is iterating over the collection. So already the collection, like whatever it is having, we are iterating over it. So on the same time, concurrently we are doing some other task on it. So at that time, this iterator will throw us the concurrent modification exception, and that is called as a structural modification. So we can see that on array list hash map classes. So these are some of the examples for the fail fast iterators. And if we see the fail safe iterators, it don't throw any exceptions if a collection is structurally modified while iterating over it. This is because they operate on the clone of the collection, not on the original collection. So the opposite of fail fast iterators, fail-safe iterators will not throw any exception for us, even if you are doing any structurally modifying while iterating over the particular collection. Why it is not throwing? Because they are like operating on the clone of the collection, means exactly we are not going to change the original collection. That's why it is called as a fail-safe iterators. It is not going to change the original collection, and so that it will not throw the concurrent modification exception for us. So some of the examples like copy on write, array list, and concurrent hash map classes. So these are the few examples for fail-safe iterators. So this is one of the important questions related to Java. And moving to the next one. So what is concurrent modification exception in Java? So we have seen, right, like when it throws actually this exception during the iterators it will throw, means we have to be very clear, like a fail fast fail safe when it will throw on which iterator. So what is that exception actually, what like why it is throwing for us? Concurrent modification in generally programming means to modify an object concurrently when another task is already running over it. So we have seen, right, in the last question. So whenever we are trying to do or to do any operation or any task on the same thread, already it is doing its it won't work, but we are trying to modify concurrently, we are trying to do some other task on that. So that is called as a concurrent modification for Java. Like for example, in Java, to modify a collection when another thread is iterating over it. Some iterator implementations may choose to throw this exception if this behavior is detected. Means what it is saying. So some of the, like by default, some of the implementation of the iterators, if it detecting this type of behavior, then it will throw the concurrent modification exception to us. To how it look like actually? So exception in thread Java util concurrent modification exception like this with the line, and why it is failing on which thing, after the iterator what we are going to do, all this information it will print to us, and it will throw exception, like this example. Hope this clears. Moving to the next one. What is coupling and cohesion in Java? So this is also one of the like favorite and frequently asked question by any of the interview if you are looking for the Java interviews. So coupling and cohesion, like if we see the difference and it's like working. So coupling is nothing but it will like we can say it is a relationship between the modules. So it is nothing but it is an indication of the relationship between the modules. So it is the concept of intermodule, and this coupling has many types, but usually what we say low coupling is good for software, and also cohesion means high cohesion will be good for software. So um, these are two like one more important question, maybe the interviewer can ask. So what coupling and what cohesion we have to choose for while implementing the code, or while choosing for any software like that. So here coupling we have seen it is nothing but the relationships between modules, and between means it is a intermodule concept, and cohesion means relationship within the same module. It is a concept of intramodule. Cohesion has many types, but usually high cohesion is good for the software. So if we see this one, we are having module 1 and module 2. In the module 1, let's say it will be one class, class A and class B, and this is the another class C, we can say, in the one application, that is module 1, and in the second application module 2. So here the blue indicating that it is a cohesion. Cohesion means within the same module. It represents the relationship, which is nothing but it is following the concept of intramodule. And here coupling, this brown line indicating means relationship between the modules. It is following the concept of intermodule. So this is a basic we have to remember, and it is the important question for Java. And the next one, it is related to Spring. So what is Spring Batch? Spring Boot batch processing is used to execute the jobs whenever we have the requirement, right, related to the jobs. Like for example, if you want to trigger mail at some specific time, daily or weekly, or based on our requirement to execute that particular job, something like that. When we have a requirement, so we can use this batch processing is mainly used to execute the jobs. So this Spring Batch is an open source web framework for batch processing only. Means execution of a series of jobs. These jobs can consist of single or multiple steps. For example, if we have a payment gateway, right? First, we will get the notification from bank. Then we'll, after clicking OK, then we will get the OTP. So it will be having few steps, right? So it will be like a single step or multiple step based on our application requirement, and and also it will do most of the heavy loaded task by itself. So these jobs can be of like can be anything, but it can do like heavy loaded task, and if it containing a single or multiple steps, everything it will take care. So what this Spring Batch providing to us? So this Spring Batch providing us the classes and APIs to read or write resources, transaction management, job processing statistics, job restarting, and partition techniques to process high volume data. So this is also like important question related to the Spring. So it is nothing but mainly used to execute the jobs, whether it can be a heavy loaded task or it can contain a single or multiple steps. So it is also like open source only, open source web framework. So and all these benefits it is providing, like classes and APIs by default it is providing to us. Moving to the next one, how to connect Spring Boot to the database using JPA. So like whatever in the Spring Boot application if you want to do, so previously I told like we have seen, right? So we need to add like corresponding dependency in the POM file of the particular application. So here also Spring Boot providing us this starter, Spring Boot starter data JPA, particularly if you want to connect Spring Boot application to the database using the JPA. This is providing starter to connect Spring application with the relational database efficiently, and you can use it into project, that is POM file, as I said. So dependency, it will consist of group ID, artifact ID, version according to your requirement, and here boot and starter data JPA. Like this dependency we have to add in our POM file, and we can use uh, means we can connect a Spring Boot to the database using JPA directly. So here one point to remember is like whatever um, dependency or any extra feature if you want to use in our Spring Boot application, then firstly we have to search whether it is providing us any dependency or not, and directly we can mm, have the dependency in our POM file, and we can use that one. Moving to the next one, what are the profiles in Spring Boot? So it is also the frequently asked question by the interviewer. So profiles in the Spring framework enables users to map components and beans to specific profiles, such as the development profile, production profile, or the text profile. So basically what we do as a developers, like if we are implementing something and in the local, and we will test in the like development environment dev, and if it is successful in our local and dev, then we will go for the QA followed by production, etc. So for each environment we will be having different profiles, means different environments, it will have different ports, port numbers, host, etc., right? So for maintaining all those things it will enable, means it is enabling us this profile concept to map that components and beans to specific profiles, means to that specific environments, we can say. In Spring Boot, the annotation at the rate profile is used to map components. So it is providing us this annotation at the rate profile in order to map components and related beans to a certain profile, whether it can be dev, QA, production, like that. So developers can also set up profiles using the Spring application. For instance, like Spring application dot set additional profiles. Like we can mention here what is the environment, means what is the profile we are going to give, something like that. So it is also one of the important question related to Spring Boot. Hope this clears. So let's see the next one. What are the how are the at the rate rest controller and controller annotation different? So in the previous videos if you have watched, so we have seen what are stereotype annotations and what annotations comes under the stereotype and annotations, and the definition of this rest controller annotation, etc. So here how they are different, the question is how they are different. This is also like tricky and also the frequently asked question by the interviewer. The traditional Spring at the rate controller annotation specifies that an annotated class represents a controller means whenever we are annotating some class with the annotation controller, then it is nothing but it is specifying that class is a controller class, and it's basically a at the rate component specialization. So we are having this component annotation, right? So controller annotation is nothing but component annotation specialization, and it is auto detected via the class path scanning. The controller annotation is used along with the annotated handler methodologies. When it will be basically used, it will be used along with the handler methodologies based on request mapping annotations. Developers use the REST controller annotation to develop RESTful web services. So, when we particularly go for this REST controller annotations, whenever we have to implement some endpoints using the RESTful web services, then only that class means the developers mostly use this annotation utilizing the Spring MVC, and the Spring at the rate REST controller maps the request data to specified request handler methods. What it will do actually, it will map whatever we are requesting, right, the data to that specific whatever it is handling the method request handler method, it will map once the handler method generates the response body. So as a reply we will get some response, right? So if you are developing some RESTful web services, if it is a get post we are having, right? So calls, in that calls if, we will get the reply like some response bodies. So this REST controller modifies it to XML or JSON response. So in this case, we will use this the REST controller annotation, and this is also like one of the frequently asked question related to the Spring Boot. So if you are basically mainly working in the implementation of RESTful web services, then this is one of the most important question. Hope this clears. Moving to the next one. What are the challenges you face while working with the microservice architecture? So previously we have seen, right, nowadays all are implementing and following the microservice architecture, Spring Boot, etc. The advantages of microservice architecture, everything. So this architecture also like will be having some of the disadvantages, and actually when we are implementing this any application using this microservice architecture, what are some of the difficulties we are facing? So let's see, developing a number of microservices sounds easy. So whenever we are going to microservices, it will be easy, like it will be having only small models with some functionalities, and it will be easy. But the challenges often faced while developing them are as follows. So we are having some advantages also, and also some of the disadvantages. Let's see. Automate the components. Difficult to automate because there are number of smaller components. So for each component we have to follow the stages of build, deploy and monitor. So obviously we have to monitor every microservices. So for one functionality we will be implementing one microservices, right, as a small component is small and understanding everything is easy, but the main thing is for each module, for each Spring Boot application, microservice application, we have to go for build, deploy and monitor. If anything crashes or while building the application or deploying, if we are changing like any small change, any small functionality, then we have to deploy that whole module. So that is one of the disadvantage, and the next one is perceptibility. Maintaining a large number of components together becomes difficult. So for each functionality, if we are having a, for example, hospital as a main application, and we are developing for hospital like many small microservices for for data, like a doctor's data for one microservice and patients data, workers, everything we are going to, like we have already implemented all mm, into small modules, right? So we are maintaining, but maintaining large number. So if we are dividing all such components, then it will become a large number of components, right? Together, if we are going to maintain, so it will become difficult to us in order to deploy, maintain, and to monitor or identifying problems. And also, like it actually requires great perceptibility around all the components. So all the components we have to give the equal priority in building, deploying, monitoring, and identifying problems, everything. And the next one is configuration management. Maintaining the configurations for the components across the various environments become tough sometimes. So as we have taken the hospital system example, right? So for each module, for patients data, for doctors data, for workers data, and check-in, check-out time, etc. All these things, everything we have to, for each component, we have to maintain all the configurations. Like as we know, right, profiles means like we will be having different environments, dev, QA, etc. So for the various environments, we have to be like very careful in monitoring everything. So if you are maintaining large number of components, it will become tough sometimes in like in configuration management and debugging. Difficult to find out each and every service for an error. Obviously, if you are having multiple services, so it will become um, very difficult. So where the application has it has stopped, where it has given error. So it is essential to maintain centralized logging and dashboards to debug the problem. So we should have certain like system, centralized login system, and some of the dashboards in order to debug problems and to identify in which application what error it has been captured, everything. So these are the some of the like challenges we have when we work with the microservice architecture. Hope this clears. So going to the next one, difference between authentication and authorization. So let's see, like we know authentication or authorization in day-to-day system life, we'll say we don't have like it is saying for not one unauthorized and authentication is required, all those things, right? So let's see like what is the major difference between this authentication and authorization. So it is also like one of the important question. The identity of users are checked for providing the access to the system. Here the persons or users authorities are checked for accessing the resources. Authentication means like it will check whether if I am logging to the system, I need to provide my credentials, right? First time when you are logging to any website or any application, it will ask for us to log in or sign up. If it is first time, we have to sign up, or already you are a existing users means we have to log in, right? So authentication is nothing but it will check the identity, like this person is already registered or not, something like that. So that is related to the authentication. And the authorization, after I log in to that particular website, so what resources I can access in that particular application, so that is called as a authorization. A- Authentication determines whether the person is user or not. So as I said, so it will check. So if I am firstly logging to the Amazon or Flipkart website, so it will ask like this user, this customer is already existing customer or not. So it will determine. And here authorization determines what permission does the user have. So if I am a Flipkart customer, so it will check what resources like I can have, means I am a Flipkart Plus member or not, so whether I can eligible or not, some of the permissions or some of the rules it will have, right, to become the plus member, something like that. So this is called as a authorization. The authentication credentials can be changed in part as and when required by the user. So this is authentication, as I said, it is related to the credentials, right? So when we forget the password, sometimes if we click the wrong password for many times, it will lock, and it will allow us to reset password, right? Or if we forget password also, we can reset, something like that. So whenever, when required by the user, whenever I want, I can change the credentials. So that can do in the authentication. The authorization permissions cannot be changed by user, as these are granted by the owner of the system and only he or she has the access to change it. So here in the authorization, am not going to change that particular access. So the Flipkart owner has to give me the plus membership, right? So if I'm eligible, he will Flipkart will give me some more offers with the super coins or a plus membership, like something like that. So it will not allow me to edit by myself. So the Flipkart system has to, means the main owner of the system has to give the access or change or edit something, some resources, right? So these things will be doing by the owner of the system. This is the authorization. And popularly, like authentication techniques, what we are having, like password based authentication, passwordless authentication, 2FA or MFA. Mainly now we have seen this, right? Two factor authentication, even for our Gmail, everything it is asking now with the two factor authentication or multi factor authentication for more security, right? So single sign on, SSO, social authentication, all these techniques are the popular ones for the authentication. And for authorization, role based access controls, some web token authorization, JWT we'll say, and SAML authorization, OpenID authorization, OAuth 2.0 authorization. And these are the authorization techniques. So related to this, I have added this question because we have OAuth 2 authorization technique in the Spring Boot. That is one of the features. So in order to cover that, I thought to make this a question, because we need to know like what is authentication and authorization, what is the basic difference. Then it can be easy to understand the upcoming concepts. And here examples we can see, right? Employees in a company are required to authenticate through network before accessing their company email for authentication and authorization. After an employee successfully authenticates, the system determines what information the employees are allowed to access. Hope this clears. So the next, so happy learning. We'll continue in the next video for some more interview questions. And thank you so much. If you are not yet been subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. Thank you. Bye.